So, I think they focused on the death panels, which will be coming. Call them what you will. Rationing is part of it. And
I agree. It's huge. It's going to be a huge issue, and that's something else about which the president was not fully forthcoming and straightforward.
All right, so you believe that there will be rationing, aka death panels?
It's built into the plan. It's not like a guess or like a judgment. That's going to be part of how costs are controlled.
All right, I lied earlier, folks, when I said we wouldn't play it anymore today. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now is our friend Noel Sheppard, associate editor of Newsbusters.org. Hello, Noel.
Have you been talking to people within the White House? What's up with this lying stuff? You're not supposed to do that. Republicans.
All right, so there's Mark Halpern. I wrote it down a second he said it, and it caused quite a firestorm. And, then he tried to backtrack, but he backtracked, dare I say, half-assed, because, while he said, I never said the word death panels, he went on to go on and say how we need and then defined what we call the death panels would do.
Exactly. So what's important here is backtracking from anything Sarah Palin said, but basically confirming everything that Sarah Palin said. But now he's okay to go back on MSNBC because he said, I never said that. And that's all you need to go back on MSNBC. Now he's fine. So he's covered.
Yeah, well, I saw it this morning. I saw his Kudlow interview as well. But again, even this morning, the whole panel, they were talking about how we need to ration care for the elderly and the sick and how expensive it is. And, they're promoting. And to Halpern's credit, he brings this up and he says, here's another instance where Barack Obama has not been forthcoming. And, when this hits, I'd love to see the media get on board with this, although they did it this morning, and say, maybe your grandfather or your mother or you are living too long because it's not worth keeping you alive.
Well, okay, but, insurance companies to some extent do that. Medicare to some extent, decides what people can get. Medicaid decides what people can get. So this is kind of, unfortunately, a logical extension of the government getting more involved into healthcare, because they're certainly going to say, we can't afford to pay for this, so you either pay for it yourself or sorry. So we're certainly going. Palin was right when she said this. If someone, what's interesting here is no one's ever discussed this. If someone other than Sarah Palin had said that, maybe it wouldn't have gotten so much pushback. I mean, she could say the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, and people would say, "Oh, you're racist."
Right, right.
So maybe she was the wrong person to come out and make what turns out to be a very, very accurate observation.
Could be. No, it absolutely could be. But again, and this is an offshoot of all this. The nuclear option that was used in the Senate is now going to enable President Obama to make the 15 appointees to this board, a.k.a. death panels, with only 51 votes. So he could pick the most radical, left-wing people who will ration care the most, and all he needs is 51 Democrats, and they're in.
Okay, but here's the upside to the nuclear option. Okay, the beauty is the Democrats pulled this plug or pulled this trigger first. We will eventually get the Senate back, conceivably next November or January 2015. At which point we are going to expand the nuclear option, and if in 2016 we have the president or the White House, then we'll be able to repeal this whole nonsense. Well, without having to get 60 votes.
Yeah, but you're assuming a lot when you talk about Republican leadership in the snow. Even if we take the Senate, when you're talking about Republican leadership actually doing something, you're assuming a lot.
or let's just look at it. Forget about as it pertains to Obamacare. Just in terms of a future Republican president being able to get things that he wants passed with only 50 votes. Basically, the Democrats have unfortunately, they've just rewritten the Constitution, although the filibuster isn't per se in the Constitution. Right. But they've radically just changed the rules in the Senate. And you and I both know now that the finger has been taken out of the dike, there's a lot more water that's going to flow. There are a lot more changes that are going to occur, and we will eventually have the Senate back. I think we take the Senate next November. Frankly, I don't see it going any other way.
I hope you're right. We're talking to Noel Sheppard of Newsbusters.org. Here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Okay, let's play a little bit of Dan Savage
Come on, it's right before Thanksgiving.
Gay activist, columnist, MTV guy, lectures in schools. He's got a whole history, in my opinion, of being a bigot and you name it. And here's what he on Bill Maher's HBO show. This is cut 8. Cut 8. All right, we're efforting cut 8.
Now, we think of Hawaii as a kind of a laid-back place, but their Catholic bishop there, I think his name is Bishop Silva, said something about how children who are in gay, adopted by gay parents, have a greater chance of committing suicide. That must be bull, right?
That's total bull. It's confusing children with gay parents with children who are raped by Catholic priests. Sorry. I am just done being lectured about children and their safety by Catholic bishops, priests, cardinals. The Pope himself has let it go. The new Pope, who I kind of dig, has let it go.
Love the new Pope.
But
yeah, they dig him and love him, man. That led to an interview that I did yesterday, which you wrote about with Bill Donahue, the head of the Catholic League, who has written to the head of HBO and has written to cardinals and bishops and people of the church. And here's what he's looking for, cut 37. All right.
I hate to always go there, but they don't have moral high ground when they talk about the welfare and safety of children.
Right.
They just don't.
That's not 37.
He does it every single Friday night. There's no other demographic group in this country that you could get away with this kind of impunity, and enough is enough. I do think that once you get all the cardinals, bishops writing to Jeff Beeks over at Time Warner and the board of directors at Time Warner, that hopefully they will try to put the reins on this man. They don't need to bring back the show. The season is ended. The next show doesn't start up until January 17th. Hopefully they'll just cancel the show. You cannot reform Bill Maher. He's an inveterate bigot.
So you're looking for them to let Bill Maher go?
They're going to just simply dump the whole show. There's no defensible argument. They could not come on your show today and make...
All right, so there you go, Noel. So what do you make of this effort to get Bill Maher dumped?
Well, I mean, I think he's got a good point, and that is there is no other demographic group that can be so abused by people such as Maher and Dan Savage and others in the media as Catholics and Catholic priests and cardinals and et cetera, although I think probably white conservative men are close, and white conservative women, if their name begins with Sarah and ends with Palin, is probably pretty close. But it is really quite extraordinary what Maher routinely does and says about, in particular, the Catholic Church, but religion in general. And you're intentionally bringing on this guy, Dan Savage, and setting him up to just tear the church apart and and what he said about the Pope, what he said about, and you and I are Jewish, but what he said about the Pope, what he said about priests and cardinals was astonishingly offensive. And as soon as I saw it, I knew we were going to jump on it. I referred it to one of the people that does more writing on this issue and loves to write about Savage. I don't like writing about Savage. I find him to be actually more reprehensible than Maher, but less so because most people don't know who the heck he is. But
right.
I'm interested to see where this is going to go. I mean, obviously Donahue has a lot of power. The Catholic League has a lot of power. If he sent this to 400 cardinals or bishops around the country to take a look at, and if they're going to actually put pressure on HBO and Time Warner, it'll be interesting to see what power they've got, if they've got any. So we're going to keep an eye out on this. I mean, and what you had said was, we don't really wish anybody to be fired.
Right.
We're all for freedom of speech, et cetera. But the problem, I think, where things have gone now with freedom of speech is there are people that are allowed to say things about certain people, and then there are others that are not allowed to say much about anybody.
And we're good. Let's segue. Perfect segue. Noel Sheppard, associate editor of Newsbusters.org. Martin Bashir, who said that someone should defecate and urinate in Sarah Palin's mouth, is still on MSNBC. I never heard a word from management. I never heard a word about, he never got, they say he's on vacation. It was pre-planned. Right. So whether it is or not, they're not coming out and saying we suspended him. It's reprehensible. Management said nothing. He's still on. Then you have, on the other hand, you have Alec Baldwin, who, I mean, how they ever hired him in the first place because of his history, but he said something, allegedly a gay slur, to a photographer, and they canceled his show. So I guess in the mind of MSNBC, it's much worse to say a gay slur at a photographer who, not that I'm defending it, but who is probably not even gay and was trying to take a picture of your kid, than it is to say someone should defecate and urinate in Sarah Palin's mouth.
Well, and Baldwin was doing this out of rage to a paparazzo in front of his apartment, not on the air, not on MSNBC or NBC property, not affiliated in any way at that point in time with NBC or MSNBC, other than the fact that he has a once-a-week show. By contrast, and of course, and this was totally out of anger, not scripted, where what Bashir did was totally scripted, was edited, was viewed likely by at least one producer, if not several.
Right. They could discipline or fire a whole bunch of people if they wanted to.
A whole bunch of people had and he apologized. Now, what's interesting about this supposed vacation is I believe that he was on vacation already, either in November or maybe in October, because I seem to remember Joy Reid, who's filling in for him now, filling in for him earlier, either this month or in October. So is kind of questionable here. You know, I frankly think what they're trying to do is they're taking a page from the Obama administration, which is they're trying to run the clock out here. You take them off of the air Thanksgiving week, where everybody's going to get nice and fat and happy tomorrow, and you know, Friday the holidays really start, and Black Friday and shopping and whatnot. I think that they're hoping that people come back fat and in the mood for the holidays on Monday, and that this is going to blow over. And it doesn't seem like it's going to. Now, I don't know whether they're actually going to ever address it, but it does seem like you've got people from a variety of different sources that are coming after this and are not willing to let this go, because this really is, as I think we discussed last week, probably the most offensive thing that we've heard on a cable station. Mar has said worse, but as far as a cable station, this was way over the top.
Absolutely, and you know, it's almost worse if they are suspending him or tell him to take a vacation and not admitting it, because it's as if I don't know, that almost to me makes it a little worse. Listen, we got about 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't know whether you saw, I had theorized earlier in the week that the reason that they can't do anything is because their audience likes this type of stuff, particularly against, So I think that they're in a strange position. It's almost like, I don't know whether I said this last week, it's almost like the NHL banning fighting.
Well,
There's a lot of people who aren't fighting.
I'm supposed to be on Morning Joe on Monday. I don't know what time, but set your DVR and maybe we'll get to bring it up. I don't know. I'd like to be invited back. We'll see how it goes. Hey, Noel, a wonderful Thanksgiving to you and your family, and we'll speak to you next week, sir.
You too, sir.
All right.